Greetings, history lovers. Welcome to This Tweet in History, the Week in Review, podcasting to you on tape delay from our North America studios. Here are your top stories for the week ending March 27th, 2010. World Dateline Canary Islands, March 27th, 1977. World's worst airline disaster occurs on the ground in Tenerife. The backstory. The terrorist bombing at the Gran Canaria airport on Las Palmas in the Spanish Canary Islands set off a chain of events that resulted in the worst aviation disaster in history. The bomb caused Gran Canaria airport to close, and its incoming traffic, including the ill-fated KLM and Pan Am 747s, were diverted to the smaller airport at Los Rodeos. The KLM pilot, seeking to get back into the air before his daily allotment of flight hours expired, interpreted a transmission from the tower as giving him clearance to take off and headed down a runway which he had been instructed to wait for the big Pan Am jet to clear. In the foggy conditions, the two flight crews saw each other too late, and although the Pan Am crew tried to turn aside into a ditch and the KLM crew tried to rush into the air, the KLM jet's lower fuselage tore through the Pan Am jet's upper fuselage. In the end, of the 628 passengers and crew on the two airliners, only 61, all of whom had been aboard the Pan Am jet, survived. Sports. Dateline Germany, March 21st, 1970. Vinko Bogataj experiences the agony of defeat. The backstory. It was footage that became iconic to a generation and a catchphrase that worked itself into the American lexicon, as every Saturday, a nation observed Vinko Bogataj's spectacular wipeout, illustrating Jim McKay's narration as the agony of defeat. Although the footage that accompanied the rest of the narration was rotated periodically, Bogataj's crash stayed constant. For all of his fame, Bogataj was, in the days before the internet, an anonymous icon in the U.S. and in his native Slovenia, totally unaware of his stature and baffled by an invitation to attend an anniversary celebration for the program some 20 years later. In other news, Dateline San Francisco, March 25th, 1957. U.S. Customs, howling mad, seizes imported copies of Ginsberg's opus. The backstory.
I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked, dragging themselves through the Negro streets at dawn looking for an angry fix.
Allen Ginsberg's first reading of his masterwork Howl was a defining moment in the genesis of the Beat movement. It was a wide-ranging, breathy, breathless work that both observed and epitomized the experiences of young intellectuals of the generation that was to come of age in the 1960s Vietnam War era in America. In this free-flowing stream of structured chaos, no holes were barred, and therein lay the problem. Seizing on its uncensored and in some cases metaphoric references to sexuality and homosexuality, the United States government declared the poem obscene, seizing imported copies and taking Lawrence Ferlinghetti, whose City Lights Publishing Company had published the work domestically, to trial on obscenity charges. Ultimately, the poem was declared not obscene and went on to become the most popular piece produced by the Beat movement. This week's birthdays: March 21st, composer Johann Sebastian Bach. March 22nd, composer Stephen Sondheim. March 23rd, director Akira Kurosawa. March 24th, escape artist Harry Houdini. March 25th, composer Bela Bartok. March 26th, poet Robert Frost. And March 27th, poet Louis Simpson. Thank you for joining us for This Tweet in History, the Week in Review. Be sure to follow us at twitter.com/HistorTweet and read some poetry this week.